let's just say that there is going to be a college football season. It sounds like that is going to happen at this point. How many games do you see Arizona winning? Because it sounds like the season is going to be, let's just somewhere around 6 to 8 games, maybe. Let's just set it at 8 games, right? So they'll likely be playing every team from the Pac-12 South, right, which is ASU, USC, UCLA, Colorado, and Utah, right? And then the remaining 3 games would come from the rest of the teams from the North Division, the Pac-12. So let's just say that they play 8 games. Ryan, how many games do you see Arizona potentially winning?
I have them only winning 2 games. As we discussed in the past shows and weeks, this team just doesn't have enough experienced talent to get the job done against these very talented teams that are better than them. That's just the facts. They have some talent on the offensive end, and that's where Arizona Wildcat fans should be excited to see this season. Guys like Grant Cannell and Gary Brightwell, those are the bright spots. But besides that, they're not winning any more than 3 games.
Bright spot. I see what you did there. I think I think honestly, I think as bad as this team might be, or as they might look on paper, I still see a potential scenario where Arizona can come away with at least 3 or 4 wins, right? I mean, I know I said on the show a few weeks ago that I didn't expect this team to do anything because of how bad their defense is, and I could still easily see that happening, right? I mean, that's probably the most realistic option, but I wouldn't necessarily chalk this team down as maybe winning 2 games, right? I think there's a scenario where they could steal a couple games and maybe end up 4-4 in an 8-game season. Because I mean, you look at kind of the state of the Pac-12 and what they're in right now. Guys are going to be rusty, right? Like the offenses and the defenses, they're going to be all over the place. So I think Arizona might be able to get away with having a below average defense just because there's all these teams that are so worried about scheming their offense and they're going to be rusty, and you've got new coaches with their new schemes. And I don't know. I mean, I think you look at their potential schedule, right? You look at the South, and I think UCLA is a pretty winnable game in my opinion. I mean, Arizona beat them last year. I didn't see them really improve from last season into this season too much. I think Colorado is another winnable game in my opinion. Arizona beat them last year as well, and has had a history of beating the crap out of Colorado. I guess that's more of a Khalil Tate thing, but you beat Colorado last year, so you know how to do it. And ASU, in my opinion, is another one of those toss-up games. Just regardless of how good or bad ASU and Arizona is, that's always a toss-up game, right? Just because it's a rivalry game. So you look at those games right there, and Arizona's looking at 2 to 3 possible wins just in that portion of the season. So if Arizona gets a favorable schedule where they're playing a team like Oregon State or Washington State from the north, I can easily see them maybe scraping together 3 or 4 wins, because I don't think Wazoo is a very good team either, in my opinion. I think having those quarterback issues, I don't even think they have a quarterback on the roster right now that has played any college snaps. So you take that as with their kind of below average defense. I think Arizona could steal a game from them as well. And all those teams that I just mentioned don't have very good defenses. So I don't know. I mean, I agree with you. I think 2 wins is probably more realistic, but I wouldn't necessarily write them down as 2-6. Let's move on, right? Because I think there's some potential in the offense to possibly steal a couple games.
Yeah. I actually don't believe that this season this team should focus on total wins and losses, because like with Corona having like a smaller schedule, and also Kevin Slumlin needs to focus on the player development with these young players and get this group meshing on all cylinders, because like this is a young team, and losing so many guys like on the defense and having the first full season of Grant Cannell, it could be challenging early on, but they're going to have to get through some difficult times, and like hopefully we just see some things we can look forward to in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I think at least the reason why I'm so optimistic is just kind of think Arizona's offense, at least on paper, doesn't look that bad, right? I mean, you talked about meshing together, and a lot of those dudes on this year's offense were there last year, right? I mean, we already know who Grant Cannell is. He's going to be the leading quarterback. He doesn't have to split time with Khalil Tate anymore. We talk about the running back core and how deep they are. I feel like we seriously mention the running back core every week. We should have a tally marker on this show
Yeah.
of every week that we mention the running back core. But they're at least 6 players deep at that position as well. The offensive line and the wide receivers, the majority of them are all coming back. So I don't know. I think adding a little bit of experience and chemistry to that team is going to happen. So I can see this offense kind of taking advantage of these subpar defenses, and and honestly, on top of that, it's just like the Pac-12 is just infamous for upsets, right? And there's always upsets in the Pac-12 every single year, right? I mean, that's half the reason why we almost never see a Pac-12 team in the college football playoffs, because everyone in the conference just beats up on each other and ruins each other's conference records. So who's to say Arizona just can't randomly beat in Oregon or Utah, just like just randomly out of the blue? I mean, we saw what happened 2 years ago when Arizona beat Justin Herbert and the Oregon Ducks 2 years ago at home. So I mean, really anything can happen. So yeah. I think I'm being a little optimistic to say that this team has the potential to win 4 games, but I think it's possible.
Yeah, as you said, at like having beat Justin Herbert at home, it's all going to depend on the schedule, the home road schedule, and to see where they play teams. Because as we know, like even last season when they would start off, I believe 4-1, and they lost to Washington at home. Like that, like they had a great first half, and like they had a chance to win that game up until halftime. But so we just got to see how the schedule shakes out, and if it's in our favor, then hopefully the Wildcats can win a few more games than I expect.
You're probably more right than I am, right? I mean, this defense is probably going to hold this team back a lot. I mean, if you thought Arizona's defense was bad last year, they're going to be even worse this year. I mean, the losses of Colin Schooler, Tony Fields, Scotty Young, I mean, they're huge, right? I mean, that trio were top 3 on that team in total tackles last year. I think they had like 250 something total tackles, the combined 3 of them. So I have no idea where that kind of production is going to come from this season. Yeah. So I mean, you have all those problems, and then you add the new defensive coordinator Paul Rhodes coming in, and he's going to install his new his new defense and his new schemes. So there's going to be a lot of confusion on the defensive side, I think. So I mean, I can easily see this defense just completely holding them back.
Yeah. Yeah, having all like those top 3 guys that you said like leaving, like even last year with those guys, like gave up 40 points over 6 times, and that's just it's unacceptable. Like to compete for to win games at the highest level.
So what about the rest of the North teams? I know I just briefly mentioned Oregon State and Washington State. Is there anybody else that you think Arizona might be able to steal a game from?
It's tough. I don't think any team is in the Pac-12 is a gimme for Arizona. I rank us in the bottom 3 probably.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Yeah, I don't know if Stanford's beatable, but I mean, I think that might be a toss-up game. I don't know. They've had a history of torching us just because our run defense sucks. I think Cal is really good. I don't think we have a chance against Cal. I think they're pretty underrated. Utah is obviously not better than, we're not better than Utah. So I don't know. I think, but like I'm saying, like if this schedule plays out favorably for Arizona, I can maybe see them going 4-4. Like if they play Oregon State, Oregon State got a lot better last year coming into this year, but I still maybe seen that being a toss-up game. I think they can beat Wazoo, and I think they can beat UCLA and Colorado as well. So you're looking at 4 potential wins, and then you throw ASU in there as well. So that's 5 games where Arizona has a potential to win. You're looking at maybe 2 to 3 wins at the most or at the least in those 5 games, but I'm not really sure.
Yeah, that would be the best case